Hey guys, Gino Bucola here with another Past the Wire video. This week we're going to be focusing in on Gulfstream Park. Saturday, March the 2nd, it is the Fountain of Youth card, and I think the Fountain of Youth so far looks on paper like it's going to be the toughest of the Kentucky Derby 3-year-old prep races. Remember, things changed a couple years ago. Now you have to accrue those points and accumulate points along the line in order to get yourself into the Kentucky Derby. So a really big race on Saturday with lots of horses that want to get themselves into the starting gate that first Saturday in May. We'll focus mostly on that Fountain of Youth, but let's jump into a couple of the races right before the Fountain of Youth. Maybe we can find some value, and maybe we can get you a winner or two. Just want to remind you that this video is sponsored by O3animalhealth.com. Why do so many top professionals choose Equine Omega Complete? Simple. Results. Go to O3animalhealth.com. And remember, when you subscribe on YouTube to Pass the Wire, any of the videos that I do, or John, or Caitlin, or anyone else from the Pass the Wire family, they'll come immediately to you. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, post some comments, share the videos around if you can. Help us grow the Pass the Wire YouTube channel. Let's talk Gulfstream Park, race number 11 on Saturday. It's March the 2nd. It is the Honey Fox. You know, it really looks like there are going to be 3 horses that I think will take the bulk of the action in here. And from a betting standpoint, one thing you can't do is you can't play multiple horses that are just going to be the same price like this unless, you know, you're chucking out a favorite and playing a couple of them. So it looks like Precious, Bellovis, and Dolce Lily, I think, will all likely take the bulk of the action. So what do you have to do? If you're playing, you know, pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 3s exotically, does it make sense to double up or triple up with 3 horses who are all going to be similar prices? No. It always is the better bet to just take a stand. Pick 1 of the 3, 2 of the 3 even. For me, I have to go to the outside with Dolce Lily. I don't remember seeing a horse win a grass race with as wide of a trip as Dolce Lily had most recently. It could be a big day for Bill Mott, who has Hidden Scroll, the likely heavy favorite in the Fountain of Youth. This 5-year-old mare made her first start of 2019 in January in a stakes race, $125,000 stakes race at Gulfstream Park. And she was a little slow early, not like way back, but just a little bit slow to get into stride, was 3 deep into the first turn, then was 4 wide for the next half mile. This trip just does not work on the grass. You see on the dirt a lot of times when maybe the inside part of the track isn't the place to be and horses are able to be in the middle of the racetrack and just keep going. But on the grass, when you lose that much ground, you never win. So the fact that Dolce Lily has a tough outside post to deal with again really doesn't bother me, because this is a horse who's proven that she can win with that tough outside draw. She can win with a 3 wide, 4 wide type trip. She just kept going. I mean, I was really, really impressed with what we saw from Dolce Lily. So that will be the play for me. If I can get anything as far as a win wager over 5-2, 3-1, I'll take it. And this will be a horse that, when most people will probably be spreading out in this race, because I think most people will be singling Jaywalk in the next race in some of the multi-race exotics, pick 3s, 4s, 5s, however you approach them. For me, this is a race where I will maybe try to key in on, and then maybe we can use a couple other horses in the races where everyone else might be singling and shortening up. So Dolce Lily for me, I would rank them with Dolce Lily, Bella V, and then Precious. Those are the 3 that I think, but again, you can't really use them all unless you're going to move to race number 12 and try to beat Jaywalk, who's the 2-5 favorite on the morning line. That's your champ, the return of the champ, the 2-year-old filly champ last year. She beat Bellafina in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, who has come back and won 2 graded stakes races. Serengeti Empress, who just came back and crushed in the Rachel Alexandra. So Jaywalk was able to outrun these fillies, get to the lead. She is visually so impressive, and that race has come back good. Even Restless Rider, who was second, came back and was a very good second in her next start. She was the heavy favorite. It looked like she was going to win, but she was still a nice second. Really no knocks on Jaywalk, and I'm always trying to beat a heavy favorite like that. That's the point of this game that we're in. We're trying to get as much value as we can. But who pushes Jaywalk early on in this race? Who shows the early speed that Jaywalk shows? I don't know. You look up and down the field. Right next door, you have a nice Florida bred who hasn't raced since September named Cookie Dough. Cookie Dough is won by 6 and by 7, it'll probably be my mom's selection. But Cookie Dough is not necessarily the horse that's going to push Jaywalk early on the front end. I just don't know if any horse is quick enough to go with Jaywalk another time. No Real Knocks did have some trouble at the start at Tampa last out, but again, she's going to be stretching out a little bit more from 7 to a mile. Does she have the early zip to stay close enough to Jaywalk? Even a horse like Geltrin, who has shown sprint speed in the past, she showed absolutely no speed in her most recent start in the Forward Gal, which is a race that you would think would be similar to this, where she would have to show some speed to at least have a shot in here. From a who has the best chance to beat Jaywalk standpoint, I think it's Champagne Anyone. Champagne Anyone really has never run a bad race. Even back in the Golden Rod, I liked that race at Churchill Downs. Most recently, it was the first start in a couple months, and she saved ground, she waited for room, she angled out and 3 deep in between horses, then she went back to the inside, and she really started to move late. It was a good kind of a learning trip because you're able to, I like the fact that she was able to maneuver around a little bit. Save ground, angle out, then back to the inside. I like Champagne Anyone moving forward. The problem is in this race, if Jaywalk just is able to cruise early on the front end, might be a tough situation for Champagne Anyone to try to get the victory. So let's keep an eye on this one moving forward, though, as the races go longer, because I would love to play Champagne Anyone in a race where Jaywalk, Bellafina, and Serengeti Empress, even Feedback, they're all going to line up, all fillies with a lot of early speed. That's the race where I want to play Champagne Anyone. But if you can maybe sniff out a little bit more speed in here, maybe you will be a little bolder than I, but I'm likely going to be just playing these Gulfstream races one at a time. I don't think I'm planning on playing like a pick 4, pick 5 in this sequence because of this race in particular. I don't think Jaywalk will be fully cranked 100% because this isn't the race she needs, but on paper, she just really looks like a standout. You don't see 2 to 5 on the morning line all too often. Jaywalk will be tough in there, but if you're looking for the one to bet and the one to try to beat, that would be Champagne Anyone. Just don't know if she'll get that trip. A mention for High Regard, who had a slowish start, saved ground, was 4 off on the inside, was kind of in the 5th, 6th, 7 spots. Got all the way up to 3rd, traveling well, waiting for room. No real knocks on High Regard, but I think she, to me, looks a lot like Champagne Anyone on paper, and I would give Champagne Anyone the edge in this spot just because she has the benefit of a race under her belt, whereas High Regard hasn't raced since November 24th. So, yeah, just a tough race to try to find a horse to bet because the one you like, the one I like, Champagne Anyone, might not get the trip with Jaywalk cruising on the front end. Let's go to the big one now, the Fountain of Youth, Gulfstream Park's 13th race on Saturday. Code of Honor from the inside. Really nice animal. Debuted, maiden special weight winner first time, came back, had some trouble in the Grade 1 Champagne. The issue that he's had is that he's a horse that has had some trouble getting to the races. They've had plans to race him a couple different times, and then they've had to call an audible, likely because he just wasn't quite ready or they didn't think he was at his best fitness level. I'm not all that ready to give up on him yet, though. He broke out a bit, but he was slow. He was last early. He made a move early up to within a length, and he was 4 deep, but he just was all in early. The issues that I have, as you said, is he races, then he's off for a couple months. He races, then he's off for a couple months. I'd love to see him be able to put a couple races back to back to back, but I think from a value-based standpoint, he's one of 3 horses that I will be using in this race, and some of the exotics and that I really like. Still have to figure out how I'm going to approach playing them, but a lot of it will have to do with price. 6 to 1 on the morning line. If he's anything over 5 to 1, I think that's very fair value on Code of Honor moving forward, who will likely save all the ground from the inside. Epic Dreamer, I think just looks like some pace in here. I need to see a little bit more from Epic Dreamer. I wouldn't be shocked if he had a little more bottom with putting a couple races back to back, but to me it just looks like more of a pace factor. I think that'll be the same thing with Gladiator King, who is right next door. He didn't show as much speed in the Holy Bull, but I think it was because he was having some problems loading into the gate. He was a little reluctant, and you could see the assistant starter actually even had his hand on him late, kind of trying to calm the horse down, and he just wasn't ready to go. So he'll probably show more speed in here which might make it even more difficult for a horse like Hidden Scroll or some of the other horses who really look like they just want to be on the front end. One of the three that I really like in here is Bourbon War. I just think he has a lot of upside. Debut winner, tried the Remsen, second out, just a little too tough. Just seemed like a horse who was a bit overmatched. About a month and a half off, comes back, really liked the effort when winning at Gulfstream Park on January the 18th. Traffic into the first turn, he ended up kind of in the 6th to 7th spot. He was about 4 or 5 lengths off the pace. He was kind of handled very, very confidently, and he made a nice move in between horses. I thought Bourbon War learned a lot in that race. What I don't like is the horse who was second, Cutting Humor, was favored in the Southwest, came back and did not run well, but if you watch the Southwest, Cutting Humor did have a tough trip, so I don't think we can really hold it against Bourbon War that the horse he beat came back and didn't win the Southwest, because he did actually have some trouble in that Southwest. Vekoma is, I feel with Vekoma and Signal Man almost exactly the same. Like them a lot, think that going forward they could be Kentucky Derby contenders, horses to use in some of the Triple Crown races, but I don't think today will be their day. I would not talk you off playing Vekoma or Signal Man in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spots, but I will not be using them on top in the 1st spots. The only horses that I'm going to be using on the win end are 3, and that's Code of Honor, Bourbon War, and Global Campaign. We're going to take a shot against some of the more logical horses who have proven more, because I think that they might not be circling this race as the race where they have to be 100% at their absolute best. Remember the Florida Derby after this, then the Kentucky Derby. So I'm looking for horses who need this race more than for horses who are using this as a prep going forward. I think that's what Vekoma is doing. Vekoma is 2 for 2. Vekoma has been almost like identical trips in both starts. Breaks well, angles to the outside, sits 3rd, just like 2 lengths off the pace, in the clear always. Really, really, like always looking like a winner in both of his starts. So 0 knocks, he beat a horse named Call Paul, who has won 2 stakes races out of that, a small stakes at Parks, and then the Grade 3 Swale. And just moving forward, I expect a good 2nd, 3rd, 4th from Vekoma, and a race that we say, okay, that's a nice race for Vekoma to build on. And I think the same thing for Signal Man, who I don't know if Gulfstream will be the best racetrack for him. He is a little more tactical than he looks at first glance. He doesn't have to be dead last and necessarily a stone-cold closer. But Gulfstream generally plays to the horses who are going to be either close to the pace or stalking. It's a lot tougher for a lot tougher for a horse to come from way out of it. And I think that's the way he projects in this field, because there seems like there are a couple in here who have really good early speed. I think Epic Dreamer's going to push it. Gladiator King's going to be right on the front end. And even the horses to the outside, Frosted Grace, Union's Destiny, I expect them to be close. Global Campaign shouldn't be far off. And Hidden Scroll is very fast. So there's a lot of speed in here. That means it might set up well for Signal Man, but I think that might mean he will be a little farther back than what would be beneficial for him. No knocks at all, though. I mean, he was really good in the Kentucky Jockey Club. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he was mid-pack, saving ground. He's 5'd up, he moved out. He was loaded, he found a seam in between, and then he held off a challenge. That was in the Kentucky Jockey Club. In the Breeders' Cup, he was a little unprepared at the start. He was taken back to last, but he began to slowly improve his position, and he moved to the inside, then in between, then back to the inside again. It was... Signalman is a horse that I will definitely be playing in the Derby if he gets there. Because what I love is he's proven at Churchill Downs, and he's the horse who I've seen him have to deal with some trouble. He's had to go in and out and weave all around. So a horse that I really like moving forward, but just not a bet in the win spot for me come Saturday. Then you have Hidden Scroll. He earned 104 Beyer speed figure in his career debut. Just a monster effort. And you got to look back at the race a little bit and see, okay, how have the horses who he crushed come back so far? So the 2nd and 3rd place finishers haven't raced back. The 4th place finisher came back, was 2nd, was only beaten in the neck in a maiden special weight race going 7 furlongs and got a 91 Beyer speed figure. So that's a pretty good next out race from the 4th place finisher. The 7th place finisher ran next out, finished 4th, going a mile on the turf. The horse is named La Hinch. It was a Florida-bred turf race, maiden special. Wasn't a bad effort, only beaten a few lengths. And the 10th place finisher came back and ran in that same race, actually was 2nd in front of La Hinch. So the 7th and 10th place finishers came back and ran 4th and 2nd. So the only horses that have come back so far to the race, they've run pretty well. And I mean, his first few steps were a little slow from the inside, and then he shot through. He opened up about a length and just cruised and crushed in the slop. But that's the problem. You have a horse like this who debuts, runs a monster race first out, and it's in the slop. A total play against for me. Could he crush this field? And if he does, will he be right up on the top with some of the Bafferts as the horses who are the major players for the Derby? Absolutely. But from a gambling standpoint, from a wagering standpoint, it's just not worth your money. This horse will be well over bet, and there are other horses in here with plenty of upside. So on the win end, no hidden scroll for me. If you're going to play a try, a super, anything like that, I'm not going to tell you not to use him anywhere, but the way that I'm playing this race, just on the win end, I'm going to use 3 horses that I think are the likely winners. And maybe I end up only playing this race to win, and I'll play the one horse of the 3 who's the best value. Maybe I'll look around and the 3 are all good value, and we play an exacta, or we play them on top of some of the other contenders. But the 3rd horse I like to go along with Code of Honor and Bourbon War is Global Campaign. 2 for 2, lots of upside. The debut at Gulfstream Park in January, really, really nice. Easy, wrapped up win. And the runner-up was a nice winner next out. Most recently, he broke on top, he crossed over, and then he took back a little bit on the inside. He had to angle from the inside out to the 2-path. And the top of the lane was clear by 3 again and geared down late. And the horse that he was in front of is a horse named Standard Deviation, who is grade 1 placed. So he beat a nice one. Really no knocks on Global Campaign. One of my 3 that I really like out of this race moving forward. And then the outside horses, Everfast, who was 2nd in the Holy Bull at 129 to 1, I just think is an under type. That was the first time where he's been in a race of this quality, of this caliber against graded stakes types, where he's ever even been close. I need to see it again. I really need to see him prove it. Frosted Grace just looks like a horse that can maybe infuse a little bit of speed in here. I again, was well defeated in the Swale, and this is a much, much tougher group. And then Union's Destiny on the outside just looks like a real long shot to me. I just don't see any races that are good enough to compete with a group quite like this. So remember, folks, on Saturday, March the 2nd, Gulfstream Park has the spotlight. It is Fountain of Youth Day on Saturday, and that big one, that Fountain of Youth, will go as race number 13. Keep an eye on that for all the Kentucky Derby points. And remember, subscribe on YouTube, Pass the Wire, and you will get all of the videos. Best of luck this weekend, folks.